I think that my music and career has had both a very deliberate direction and also evolved gradually. I started writing songs when I was like 7 years old, and it was just always my way of like dealing with life. For whatever reason, that's just what I started doing. And it sort of started as poems and turned into songs as I started to love music more and more when I was little. Um, and I think, I grew up on a pretty steady mix of country and rock and roll and really just anything. I'm thankful all the time that I had parents who didn't shelter me from any kind of music. I mean, truly, I listened to everything from like Dr. Dre to Aerosmith to Garth Brooks to Johnny Cash. Like across the board, I just kind of got to have my fill, which is really awesome. Um, but yeah, I think that the deliberate direction is that I've always known that this is what I want to do. I knew really early on that I loved writing songs and I loved performing and I loved singing, and I really wanted to be able to do that with my life. But it's definitely gradually evolved. I kind of hope I'm always gradually evolving. I hope that my music is always shifting with my life because I write a lot about my life and because I write about experience, whether it's mine or someone else's story. Um, my life is ever changing and always evolving. So I think my music has always evolved with it. And I feel, at least right now, presently, that I'm writing and making the best music that I've ever made. And I feel the most comfortable with the music that I'm making. I feel the most in my element than I've ever felt. Um, and I hope that in 5 years, I say that again. And I hope in 10 years, I say that again. I hope that I'm always just being honest with who I am as a person and writing music from that perspective, and not making any apologies for where that comes from. If I could open for any artist, um, dead or alive, and I'm going to do the thing that you're not supposed to do when you answer questions, which is give multiple answers. But if I could open for any artist who has passed on, my answers there would be Patsy Cline or Tom Petty, or honest to God, if we could just do a show with myself, Patsy Cline, and Tom Petty, that would be like a dream come true. I've just been so inspired by both of those artists my entire life. And so in my dreams, in another life, I get to share a stage with them. Anyone who is current, Alanis Morissette, Sheryl Crow, Coldplay would probably be the first, and Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks is someone who's super inspired me my entire life since I was little. Just his style of performing and just kind of the type of artist he is, I've always been really inspired by. So it's always been a huge dream to get to play a show with Garth Brooks. And then, yeah, if we could just like do a tour with like me and Alanis and Sheryl Crow and Coldplay, I think that would be the dream right there. But no, all of the artists I mentioned are all artists that I it would be a huge dream to get to collaborate with any of those artists. They're artists that I have so much respect for. They're artists who are just phenomenal songwriters. And I love the way that they've led in their careers and just who they are as artists and human beings. So those would be my top choices if I really just got to have my pick of the litter. I think strengths that I have that make me a good musician and performer. I think you have to bring a lot of strengths to the table to be able to not only, live the lifestyle that's associated with being a touring musician, especially if you're independent, because there's just a whole nother realm of things you have to deal with in that arena. But as a performer, one thing that I've always tried to do on stage, and one thing that's super important for me with my music, and especially when I'm performing it live, is that for however big or small the room is, for whatever amount of time that we're all together and we all get to be together in that space, it's just so important to me that people just get to be in the moment. I want every single person there to get to experience what I'm experiencing on stage. I've always felt like it's never just like crowd performer. For me, it's like we are all a part of it. Like the crowd is just as much as an important part of the performance as the actual performance. And it only works in a really special way if that's happening. So for me, it's just really important when I'm on stage. I always tell people like I'm the same person on stage as I am off. And I hope that when I go out on stage. You know, I want people to feel like they're hanging out with an old friend. You know, I want them to feel excited by the performance, but I also want them to genuinely feel like they're a part of it, and genuinely be able to be in that moment. So I always make it, I think one of my strengths as a performer is that I always really try to remove that wall between crowd and stage and performer. There's no wall there. We're all just getting to experience this really awesome thing. That's my favorite thing to do in the world, together. And we're all getting to really live in that moment. That's the highest compliment anyone could ever give me about a performance, is that they really felt like they got to be in the moment and just enjoy it for everything that it was, and feel it for everything that it was, and not think about anything else. The pandemic obviously definitely impacted my music life. Up until the pandemic hit in 2020, I'd been a touring musician for, you know, something like 11 years plus, and I just always had been on the road. And so when the pandemic hit and I was forced off the road, it was a very different life for me, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. And it was obviously like the loss of momentum was really hard. The loss of income was pretty scary for a minute. But, you know, I think as terrible as the pandemic was, I have to find good things and joy in every situation, because that's just, I think, how we survive. And you know, once the dust kind of settled a little bit, the great thing about the pandemic forcing me off the road was that it forced me really to slow down, which was something I just hadn't done in so long, and really deal with some things about my life, and about maybe over hustling a little bit, over touring a little bit. It allowed me to kind of sit in my creativity a little bit more. I wrote an album, I wrote a bunch of songs. I got to reevaluate a lot of things. So probably the saddest thing for me about the pandemic was the loss of momentum, and you know, everything that brought. But on the other side of things, I think a lot of creativity came with the pandemic. I think a lot of new perspective and a different outlook on how to move forward with my music, and move forward just as a touring musician in general, changed and shifted a lot for the better. And I think it gave all of us such a deep appreciation for what we get to do as touring musicians, if we should have the privilege of getting to do that. I think a real appreciation, new even appreciation, of getting to do that. You know, I think a lot of crazy things are meant to happen on tour. That's sort of the beauty of tour. You never really know what to expect. Each day is different. So aside from just like the normal stuff, like locking my keys in my car in a gas station in Nowheresville, Montana, and having a show somewhere 6 hours away, and having to wait for a tow truck, just like the normal stuff like that happens when you're on tour. That's one of the crazy things happening, is one of my favorite parts about tour. I know that one time in Coos Bay, Oregon, we had a show there that night, and I decided to do some sightseeing during the day, and I decided to go out on the cliffs and watch the waves and get like way too close to the waves. That's like a dumb thing. Don't do that. Truly, literally could have been washed away to sea and never seen again. I don't know what I was thinking, but I decided to get like right on the edge of the cliffs and like try to take pictures of the waves. It was really stupid. And this giant wave came up and just totally annihilated me and drenched me completely. I've never gotten so wet from not being actually in the water. Destroyed my cell phone, destroyed anything I had on me. I didn't have a cell phone for a week on the road. That was interesting, in the age of using maps on phones. There's also things just like, and my mom is actually gonna kill me for this one, but sorry, Mom. Sleeping on like strangers' couches and stuff. And I've never done that by myself, by the way. I've only ever done that when I have like, when I'm touring with when I have people touring with me. I've never done this alone, but you still shouldn't do it, probably. Sleeping on the couches of like strangers you meet at that show that night, who are like, "Where are you guys staying?" And we're like, "The van, the car, I don't know." And they're like, "Well, come sleep at our house on our couch in our basement." You probably shouldn't do that, but I'm still here. I survived, but also don't do that. So yeah, aside from those kind of things, I really do think like the beauty of touring and playing in one place one night and a different place the next night and getting to just see all these things, being on the road versus like even flying, or just kind of getting to experience everything as it comes. That's the beauty of touring. You don't know what you're going to get. And they make for great stories, right? So I sort of live for those moments and those cool memories I get to have of, and lessons learned, I should say, of being on the road. Yeah, the craziest things I think are all the little things that happen that teach you lessons and remind you that you're getting to do a really cool thing and see the world in a really cool way. And so I kind of think those crazy things happening are really awesome things in the end.
Most folks know me by the way I live, and I know them as good as they know me. I'm always turning a key while somebody's asleep. I don't mean no harm, I just got somewhere to be. Been called a runaway, a restless heart.